Hey, welcome to another edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. You might have noticed we've changed some things around here. We got a cool logo, boop, 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 like up here. You still not fixed that? Shame. And we've generally rebranded under the Tech Talk Tuesday. We were kind of a little bit more commercial, but welcome to our more softer side. We're like Sears before they went under. So I don't know. Maybe Sears is still around. They're probably just barely clinging on though. Anyway, thanks for joining us. You know, it's 7 o'clock Eastern because we're on the air. Joined always with Neil. Neil, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm great. How are you doing, Matt?
Oh, I am so good. I'm standing at my sit-stand desk. That's how you know the day is going well. I don't know. That's not really an indicator, I don't feel like.
I didn't think it was either, but
maybe it should be. Yeah. Speaking of things that are standing up, I'm just kidding. I really don't have a segue for that. The things that are definitely going up. Let's talk about drones.
Yeah, let's talk about drones. So the FAA just took another really big step in allowing autonomous drone driving, basically. This is really neat. The first step of this was really in October of last year when they took a huge step in letting Skydio's self-driving drones actually inspect bridges in North Carolina. This was obviously once we verified that the bridges were clear, so there's no risk of any of that. But this is an even bigger step in that they are allowing American Robotics to be the first company to allowed to operate drones without needing a human pilot. So that's really, really big. You also don't have to have an observer anywhere near the aircraft, which is an even bigger deal.
Yeah, it's a huge jump.
So it's really interesting. The article actually states that it actually isn't that big of a deal. This is a little bit sensationalized because you'll still have to have a human to each and every flight. So there'll be somebody still running through a bunch of safety checks before takeoff and actually be inspecting the aircraft with remote tools. So it's not 100% fully automated, but it's getting mighty close.
Yeah, we're well on our way then.
Yeah. And so this is really neat. I think this is huge, honestly. I don't think that this is necessarily sensationalized. It's probably not exactly what the Wall Street Journal says, fully automated commercial drone flights. That's not technically true, but it's getting really darn close.
I heard it was the Tesla of transportation. It will come pick you up right out front. You get in and it just takes you, and you don't need, you know what? You use the Neuralink. You sent me that link. We'll go ahead and post that in the show notes because I think it's important. But yeah, you can wear your little Neuralink and just think about where you want to go. And this is that, right?
Yeah, totally that.
Okay, it's not that. No, so they're operating in 3 states. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's very specific locations in Kansas, Massachusetts, and Nevada. And they're owned by the actual company, American Robotics, or its customers. So it is very much so in a very limited scope. You're not going to see drones all of a sudden flying over your house. That's not at all what's happening here. This is much more exactly. This is much more let's take the next step in a very controlled environment, get some data, understand how this could actually work in a real thing, make sure that we can avoid things that we need to avoid, things like that. So yeah, I mean, there's still a long way to go with this, but this is a really big step in that we can start accumulating data and understanding, are these technologies that we're employing to actually automate this stuff actually going to work, essentially.
I'd like to know that.
Right. I'd like to know that before they just release it from the neighborhood.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've taken out a drone flying a few times or whatever, and just under the personal use license, which is just a $5 checkbox on the FAA site. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that you can't. I mean, they tell you need to have line of sight at all times on this thing, right? Which I totally do. But no, it's just you lose signal so fast when you don't have line of sight anyway. So it's it's kind of pointless. But I can see this, you put up some radio masts and, can control things maybe on a wider basis. it starts to make sense. Well, the little boomerang that it was showing was like, it looked like there was an agricultural kind of fit and maybe some other places. So yeah, I think it just makes sense, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And other things that are starting to make sense. Do you remember BitTorrent? Me either. But what I'm told, no, I remember BitTorrent because I was not downloading movies with it. And but if you're not familiar, so peer-to-peer technologies, maybe you'll remember, gosh, what was it? Like Kazaa and like what was Napster? Oh my gosh, you remember Napster? Me either. But Napster, they all kind of based on this like peer-to-peer system, right? And the real news here is that Brave, which is a browser that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, they're actually implementing this protocol that essentially does like peer-to-peer file transfer for all of the web content. And you may think, oh, what's the big deal there, right? Well, have you ever been on a server or been trying to pull up a web page like when everyone else is doing exactly that? Dude, it's so slow. It gets choked up. You feel like you're on a dial-up modem again. Shout out to my old guys. But yeah, so this is huge because as that content then is downloaded into Brave, if you opt in to do this, it stores pieces of it, right? Like throughout the web on all these individuals' computers. And then so that when you go to access it, it may go, gosh, you know what? Your buddy next door actually already pulled this, and your ping time to him is like, I don't know, 1 millisecond. Let's go pull the content from there instead of going to Japan and through like 3 proxies and down the dark web and come back out and pull the content. So it's definitely significantly faster just on its base premise. I don't know. I love this. Like, I think this is really, really cool. And if you haven't heard, we were talking about this earlier, the Brave browser, should check it out. Like, they're really based on this privacy first kind of concept, but it works. It really is a layer. It looks like and acts like a lot like Chrome. But they've got some really cool things built into it. And again, they by default are really protecting you kind of from and doing some of the ad blocking and some of those things, which, to be fair, in the modern web can be a little annoying if you go to turn that off. But buddy, I know you're a huge privacy advocate. I mean, are you thinking maybe you'll pull up Brave?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's getting to the point where it feels accepted enough, I think, to like kind of jump in. Brave actually reports that they have 24 million monthly active users, which is a lot, obviously. And yeah, I mean, Brave has been a very early supporter of this decentralized kind of web for a long time. And like the article states, they've been working on it for over 2 years. They started in 2018. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge step in the right direction for them, or the way that they see. And yeah, I mean, this, what comes with a decentralized web, I think is what is important. It helps solve this problem of centralized servers, which are like critical fail points in our internet service right now. For sure. So if like Amazon or AWS like goes down,
Hold on, like, they would never go down.
Right. But like let's just say that they go down and have to stay down. That takes out like 90% of the internet. Like it's not exactly 90 probably, but it's a lot of the internet. Yeah. And so what this would do is that this helps spread out those fail points. So there's no singular fail point or I guess pillars that you can just knock down and take out the entire internet. This is purely peer-to-peer, so it allows you to talk to whoever, everyone sharing the data across everyone. Now, you may think that sounds scary, Neil, because like you're sharing data with other people, but what's happening is that all of this is encrypted as well. So like it's not like you're just like accessing other people's computers randomly and getting whatever you want off of their computers. Like that's not what's happening at all here. Like this protocol is completely different from that. I actually think the article points you in a really good explainer that I read that's on TechCrunch as well. Oh, yeah. So if you're really interested in what this protocol is doing, I'd suggest go reading that because that'll explain it way better than I can because that's my understanding of it as well. but yeah, this is really cool because it does that. It can also help protect against like censorship, because no, you're not blocking one signal from somewhere. You can't block out everyone's signal. Like, that's just not possible.
True.
So, or at least not that I'm aware of. So yeah, so it does solve a lot of problems. It can create problems, obviously. Such that it would be a lot harder for things like, or for like Facebook and Twitter to do what they did to Trump and then take down Parler as well. So like those types of things would be harder to do, but overall, I think it's a big net gain. So yeah, I think that this is really cool. I'm definitely going to be pulling down Brave after this and checking it out more. And I'll probably opt into this and have a note on my computer because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, why not? No, I think that's awesome. Speaking of things that are awesome, two tech giants tied the knot officially, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily awesome, but this has been over a year in the making, right? So in 2019, I believe, Google announced that it was going to acquire Fitbit. And just now we are getting to the point where that has actually happened. So this is a over $2 billion acquisition, which is ludicrous, but still really cool that this amount of money is still acquiring things.
I know it.
Yeah. So really the holdup on this was the EU. EU was basically like, hey, like we have to approve this deal for this to be legit in Europe. So they finally did that. Or Google finally did good on their commitments that they promised them about how it is actually planning to use Fitbit and its actual health data. Obviously, that's a huge concern with that. So apparently Google is only wanting the devices and not the data, which I have a really hard time believing. And that's true. But yeah, apparently this Google has pledged that none of this user data, like health and wellness data, will be used for Google's ad tracking at all. Again, how do you really make sure that happens? I'm not sure. But, because data's ones and zeros going around places. So hopefully this is just hardware, and we're not seeing any like weirdness going on. But yeah, this is a huge acquisition. So yeah, it's interesting that they finally have got it done and that this thing's official as of today. So
yeah, to your point, this was the deal that almost wasn't, right? I think even as late as December,
yeah,
they kind of got the I don't know, got it kind of pulled out from underneath it. But yeah, it sounds like things are kind of back on the way, and that's good.
Yeah, so I mean, there's still an ongoing investigation on some of this stuff. So, but it's good enough that the deal can be completed. Yeah, I mean, obviously Google said that we've complied with everything, and that it's been 14 months and all of this stuff, and that they'll continue to be in touch. But yeah, I mean, this is a done deal at this point, unless another lawsuit happens, like with Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp.
Like that would happen.
Yeah, like that would ever happen to a tech giant.
I think this is good. At least they're kind of pledging to stay on the iOS and Android platform. So I think that's cool as well, right? We're seeing a lot more interoperability than we were, like, say, 5 years ago, even, where like there were high walls of the castle that were not being breached. So yeah, I don't know. I hope to see good things come of this, and mostly for consumers. I don't use a Fitbit. I used to, but I don't know. I'd like to think that having Alphabet kind of behind it will help it propel forward and continue to improve its interface and its user coverage.
Yeah. So the ongoing investigation, I just want to make sure that everyone understands, it's actually in Australia still. So in late December, actually, Google had risked up to a $400 million fine if it proceeded with the deal without the regulators' approval. But since then, Australia has come out and said that it won't fine companies for completing mergers prior to gaining its approval. They just need to gain it at some point after the acquisition happens, I think, which I don't know. Like, I don't live in Australia, but that seems a little weird to me. But yeah, so I think that there's still some ongoing things there, but it was good enough for them to be like, yep, this is a done deal. So, and I mean, Google has enough money to pay that big of a fine, and it really doesn't matter to them. So
True.
So yeah, I think that's the last thing we have today. So thank you for joining us on this edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. If you want to read up on any of the articles that Matt and I talked about today, including the Neuralink thing, you can find them in the description below. And while you're there, how about you give us a follow or a subscribe? That way you don't miss any future editions of Tech Talk Tuesday. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are here. We are talking about tech, and we would love to have you. So how about you join us live? If you want Matt or I to answer any of your questions, either live or not, you can hit us up on Twitter. Matt's Twitter handle is the Matt Ray. I just get choked up every time I have to say it.
I do too, buddy.
And mine is at Neil Tardy. Very simple, very boring, but works like a charm. So if you want to ask us any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. So with that, we hope to see you next Tuesday, and we'll catch you later.